be the problem. Oh, don't be scared of them. Go on, look at them. Go on, point your finger in their face like black folk do when they mean what they say. And say, you just might be the problem. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You fell out with Susie. You fell out with Sally. You fell out with your sister. You fell out with your brother. Fell out with your cousin. You fell out with your bestest friend. Fell out with the church mother. Got mad with the pastor. Fell out with the deacon. Don't get along with the choir director. Fell out with Ray and Pookie. Have you ever taken the time to notice that you are the common denominator in every one of those situations? Can't be something wrong with everybody else and nothing wrong with you. Go on and preach, Talbot. Go on and preach. So many times we find a way to make our present situation seem worse than it actually is. Brothers and sisters, we need to realize that no matter what our situation is, there's always someone worse off than we are. The writer said, I complained that I had no shoes until I saw a man that had no legs. We need to thank God that he's able to make a way no matter what our situation is. So when we take a look into our text, we find that we put too much emphasis on what we can do to make it better, and not enough on following God's plan for keeping it better. In our passage this morning, the children of Israel have been through 2 more trials since the crossing of the Red Sea. But let's just back up for a moment, because before they got to the Red Sea, they complained about being under a hard taskmaster. Pharaoh got upset with Moses and Aaron for coming and telling him to let my people go, and he decided that you're going to make bricks without any more straw, and he made things hard for the people. And God came in and God did what no army could do. Broke down the most powerful nation on earth with frogs and lice. Come on, y'all. With hail and mosquitoes. Only God can mess folk up and they don't know what happened to them. And God brought Egypt to their knees. See, you have to understand that you don't have to fight your own battles. For the battle doesn't belong to you anyway. It belongs to the Lord. And God delivered them out of 4 centuries of slavery. And when they got out, they came to the brink of the Red Sea and knew they could not get across. And Pharaoh changed his mind and decided that I want to get them back. And there were chariots coming behind them. And a Red Sea that they couldn't cross in front of them. And Moses stood up and said, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Stretched out his hand, and God sent forth a strong wind and blew the water and hung it up like curtains. Come on, y'all. Water on either side, and they walked out on dry ground. Got to the other side, and Miriam took out her tambourine and began to sing and looked, and Pharaoh's army was coming, but then God closed the sea up and said, you will not see him again from this day forward. But then even after watching that miracle, they get across and find out they don't have anything to drink. They're afraid that they soon will have nothing to eat. Even though these people have seen their deliverance from Egypt, watch God exact 10 plagues upon their enemies. Watch God bring them across the Red Sea. Watch God work miracles. They stand there and still seem to complain about things that they cannot control. And see, that's the thing about the enemy. The enemy will have us convinced that the same God that healed you from cancer can't deal with your headache. Y'all ain't gonna help me in here now. The same God that brought you out of that situation last year is the same God today. He's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. See, what you've got to do is you've got to put little things in your memory bank. Amen. Has anybody ever experienced a situation where you just knew it had to be God? I mean, it wasn't the pastor, it wasn't my mama, it wasn't my cousin them, but the only way I got out of that situation, it had to be God. Anybody experience that? See, you need one of those in your life so that when you go through something else, when your friends become fickle and your finances seem finished and your family has turned away from you, you need to go back in your memory bank and say, if he delivered me then, he can deliver me now. If he made a way then he can make a way now. And so they had looked at what God had done. God led them night and day, and they still seem to complain. Brothers and sisters, we have to understand that there are going to be some situations that will also arise in our lives that we will not be able to control. There are going to be some things that we can't handle. But if we keep in mind that our God has everything in control, that he has it all in the palm of his hand, we should be able to rest and stop complaining. If we take our problems to God, I know that he can work it out. He may not work the way you want him to work. He may not work how you want him to work, but he will do it, and he'll do it on time. Oh, yeah. We've got to put it all in his hands. All of our burdens, all of our problems, all of our questions must be placed in the master's hand. Too often we want to say that we trust the Lord and will do whatever he says, but truly what we want to do is to analyze the situation and do what we want to do. Y'all ain't gonna help me now. We feel that God is moving too slow on some things. And so we, in our vast and infinite wisdom, take matters into our own hands. We seem to say, Lord, now, I know you can, but let me help you out a little bit. Let me show you what I need done. I know you know all things, but let me show you what I need, and most of all, let me show you what I want. My brothers and sisters, it seems that we are too often a forgetful people. We forget all about the blessings that God has bestowed upon us. We forget about the storms that he has already brought us through. We forget about the bills that were due and our pockets were empty, but God made a way anyway. We forget about when the doctor said there's nothing more that I can do, and Dr. Jesus stepped in and changed the diagnosis. We forget how if he doesn't change it, he'll still give us rest. He'll still give us peace in the midst of our situation. We forget the same God that delivered us once is able to do it again and again. There's one thing that is good to know, is that even in the midst of our complaining, even in the midst of